This is the best beer in the world, according to many beer experts. It is the Rochefort Trappist number 10. It is from Belgium. It is a very, very famous beer. It is a Belgian Quad, meaning that it's coming in at 11.3% alcohol, and it's from one of the 11 Trappist breweries in Belgium, made in a monastery by monks or under the supervision of monks, and has hundreds of years of history connected to it. So this beer, among many beer experts and many beer geeks and aficionados, is considered the best. Now, there are arguments for other beers, but this is usually pops up in that question and usually comes in either 1, 2, or 3 for many beer drinkers who know their stuff. This is my first time trying it, so I'm very, very intrigued as to how I'm gonna rate this beer. I no doubt that it's going to be a fantastic beer, but is it going to be the best beer in the world for me? Let's find out. So, I mean, what the bloody hell is a Belgian Quad? I think most people, when you hear about Belgian beers, you hear them described as kind of like doubles, triples, and quads. I think you know, just assume that like maybe that's to do with the alcohol, or something is tripled or quadded or whatever. Close. I think it comes from kind of how they were described by the monks over centuries. So I think monks typically drank a kind of table beer, which was low ABV, and that they could drink that daily. And then there was the double, which was essentially kind of double the alcohol. So a table beer might be in the 3%, and a double might come in kind of around 6, or 5 to 6 or whatever. But then you have the triples that are a bit stronger, maybe 7 to 9. And then you have quads, which are over 10, 11, 12%. And these are the strongest ones. So I mean, typically your double and your quads are your dark beers. And this is to do with the malts that they're using, as well as the type of candied sugar. Yes, they're using candied sugar in beer. Did you know that? So Belgium is very famous for this, and it's actually how you get such strong beers without them being like super cloying or too much on the tongue. So basically, they can bump up the alcohol content by introducing a kind of candy syrup that beer yeast loves and can eat and use in its entirety, and that means that the alcohol gets bumped up without introducing other bodies. So when you're using malts in beer and you're mashing in, you're converting things, sugars. And some of those sugars are long chain, short chain, getting too technical, too scientific. But basically beer yeast prefer one type of sugar over others, and so they can convert that type of sugar into alcohol. But you're then left with the types of sugars that they can't convert into alcohol, and that's what gives beer more and more body. So if you wanted to increase the alcohol content, you would be either introducing a lot more sugars from the malts, which would then result in a much heavier beer, or you introduce something which the yeast can eat in its entirety and convert in its entirety to alcohol, and that is sugar, so that it's higher alcohol but without adding that body. Sorry for the long-winded explanation. So yeah, as I said, there's 2 types of candied sugar that they use in Belgian beers. 2 types, or 2 main types. One is the kind of clear or light candied sugar, and the other is the darker candied sugar. And the difference here is that they're both inverted sugars, so they're treated with a kind of acid or whatever, and it's to make them more fermentable by the yeast. And then they're heated up And so the light candied sugar obviously is only heated for a small amount of time, and the dark ones are heated for longer, and that creates that Maillard reaction, which results in, one is the darker color, and then two is that it introduces all of those kind of dark flavors that you attribute to those kind of dark dark colors, dark flavors, and that is caramel, molasses, fig, dark fruits, all those kind of characters can come from that dark candy syrup. And then they also use some slightly darker malts in the malt bill, so it's mainly a pale malt for the base, but then it goes into maybe Cara Munich or something that adds just a little bit of toffee and dark notes to the color of the beer. But mainly the dark sugars are providing a lot of that color and a lot of those dark flavors that I just talked about. So that's the Belgian Quad. It's the strongest of the Trappist style Belgian beers, and this one is supposedly the best of the lot. So interesting. This brewery is in Rochefort. The French do a kind of weird thing in the throat when they say the R. I can't do it. Apologies. I'll give it a go. No chance, mate. Absolutely no chance. I'm the most British man on the planet. Cannot speak another language. It's from Rochefort in Belgium. The number 10. When I first heard of this beer, I thought the 10 maybe stood for the alcohol content, but the alcohol content is 11.3%. So the 10, I think, is maybe the original gravity of the beer. Little beer nerd kind of nod. So this is their number 10. I think they make 2 or 3 other beers, maybe a double and a triple and something else. So I've talked about the malts, I've talked about the candy syrup, I've talked about the high alcohol content. A lot of that is going towards the flavor of this beer, but this is Belgian beer, and the most important part of Belgian beer is Belgian yeast. Those yeasts, they ferment them at a fairly high temperature for beer, so in the low 20 centigrades, and they like to stress them a little bit, and they produce all sorts of wonderful flavors and aromas, ranging from your cloves, your spices, your peppers, through to banana and all that kind of fruity stuff that's going on. So this beer for sure is going to be a big yeast opera of flavors coming through, married together with those kind of dark fruits, dark figs, caramel, toffees coming from the candy syrup and the malts. So I'm expecting a very, very complex beer. I'm expecting the hops to just be kind of playing a very, very supporting act role. I'm not expecting pretty much anything from the hops other than just to maybe try and round out the balance a little bit. I'm expecting big Belgian yeast flavors and aromas and lots of those dark molasses kind of flavors. Excited for this one. I've forgotten my beer opener. I'll be right back. All right, Rochefort 10. Let's crack it open and see if it truly is the best beer in the world. That is most definitely going in the collection. Oh, it's a bit lively, isn't it? Bloody hell. Okay. It's a Belgian beer. They do love a bit of fizz. Let's see how I can smell it already. It smells unbelievable. It's opened like a champagne. That is very characteristic of a Belgian beer. I have to wipe that down when I'm done. All right. It has poured a very kind of dark brown mahogany kind of color. The kind of hint of maybe, I don't know, ruby right in the base of this glass. You can catch it's almost like a toffee caramel kind of color actually, and then it's kind of a mahogany, deep dark ruby. That head is kind of tan cream, and it's going down fairly quickly, and that's because it's a high alcohol beer, so that's expected. Let's smell this before that head goes. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Yeah, so I'm getting this kind of like faint, kind of beautiful sweetness. It's not like a cloying sweetness. It's yeah, so I'm getting kind of that kind of banana bready kind of sweetness, and there is that banana kind of aroma coming from it. Definitely some alcohol heat, but nothing crazy, nothing too sharp. Yeah, and then there's kind of a hint of that kind of yeast phenols, a little bit of spice there. Slight malt sweetness as well. But also, I mean, in terms of like the other fruits I'm getting on this nose is, I think maybe like a bit of plum, a touch of plum, and then I want to say something like a fig. It's the kind of on the lighter end of those kind of dark fruits. So yeah, I think that maybe that this beer is fairly young in comparison. I think the older this beer gets, um, the more that those kind of much darker, maybe even leathery kind of tannin kind of flavors and aromas come in. Yeah, it just smells so inviting as a beer. Not in your kind of summery, kind of refreshing sense, like just in, you know, like if your mum's baking some kind of fruit cake or something in the kitchen and it just wafts through the house. This is what I'm getting from this. I'm gonna have to have a gulp of this. Yeah, wow. That is complex, but yeah, wow, just like a celebration in the mouth right there. So I mean, immediately you get two things from this beer, on the front of the tongue. So you're getting that kind of sweetness coming from the kind of toffee and caramel notes, and then also there is a bit of alcohol heat. It is a high ABV beer, but it's not as much as you would expect. Like it's, I mean, it's typically, you know, they're masters of this in Belgium. Is, you know, dangerously high alcohol content, but not so much in terms of when you're drinking it, you realize it. And that's what's going on in this beer. You can tell it's a hot one, but it's not you know, nothing that you know, would raise alarm bells in your brain like, oh, what are you drinking, man? It's just like straight vodka. No. So yeah, sweetness and a bit of alcohol heat, and then yeah, and this just comes through with this like plum, definitely plum on the tongue there, and like figs, and like I said, like these kind of dark fruits, but the light end of that dark fruit spectrum. It's really quite nice, and I think it marries into the kind of light toffee caramel flavors for sure. Um, yeah, like it really sinks together. Like it's not like I think when you look at this beer and you look how dark it is, that kind of deep mahogany, you might think that you could be getting kind of like cocoa, maybe some chocolate, and some like darker fruits. Those kind of more kind of berries, deeper kind of notes. But actually, no, this for me, it is more on the lighter side, and it is more kind of like a toffee caramel kind of accent mixed together with that plum and fig. And I think from the yeast, perhaps as this beer ages, maybe the cloves and the spices, the peppers, etc., come through more. It is more a kind of background note right now on this beer. I think it adds that kind of nice kind of not bitterness, but that kind of complexity into that kind of sweet caramel toffee and then fruitiness. It's adding that kind of complexity, bit sprinkle of spice. You always need a bit of spice on your meals. That's what that's doing. So yeah, that kind of complexity is welcome. It reduces any kind of potential cloyingness from the sweetness of this beer. In terms of body, it's about medium. You can't get a sense of that high alcohol in terms of body. The candy syrup is really doing what it's supposed to, and that is giving you the bump in alcohol, but drying out the beer, to the level of malt that you've included in that recipe. So it drinks like a 7% beer, but it's at 11%, if you know what I mean, which is quite dangerous. Yeah, and I mean, as it's warming up in the hands, yeah, it's just it's hard to explain to you. You really need to try this beer. It is just exceptional in terms of just like complexity and just different. It's like different explosions of brain connections going off in terms of flavors here. It's not so like straightforward as other beer styles. This is yeah, wow. I can understand why a beer geek is like, you've got to try this beer because it's like some beers are like a singer with a beautiful voice. I don't know. I'm gonna embarrass myself here naming singers, and for some reason, because I'm talking about a French-speaking country, they also speak Flemish. Apologies. Some half French-speaking country. I'm thinking of Celine Dion. I apologize. But yeah, no. Some beers are kind of your solo singer, and that's wonderful. And other beers are kind of like a choir, and this is a choir, and every member of that choir is nailing it. Like, I definitely think you will understand that analogy. Like, the yeast is singing, the malts and the kind of dark syrups are adding their kind of kind of flavors, and then the alcohol is doing its thing. It all marries together into this kind of like complex beer with lots going on, but in one direction and harmonized and makes sense as you drink it. So it's not like too much of anything. It is rounded. Yeah, the warmer it gets, the more it leans towards kind of raisins. Yeah, it's it's changing so much as the temperature changes on it. Like at the beginning, it was kind of like that, definitely like plum and fig. But now, yeah, for sure, it's like a pack of raisins, but not like your dark raisins. Like yeah, like your white grape raisins I'm getting from this. Yeah, wow, just a wonderful beer. It really is just a wonderful beer. So much going on for it. So I mean, in review, cracked it open. It overflowed like a bottle of champagne. It's got that carbonation, that kind of everybody look at me kind of attribute to this beer, which is well deserved. Talking about an aroma that is just like wow, it's big. It hits you in terms of like figs and those kind of light dark fruits. You'll understand what I mean if you've watched this whole video. And then yeah, like it's marrying together with that kind of caramel and toffee. The yeast is singing in terms of like those like the clove and banana for me. I was getting more so banana than anything else. And I think that's because maybe this bottle itself is quite young and that will dissipate. And then yeah, just as the temperature increases, it just evolves and changes. And towards the end, I was getting more raisin than anything, and the banana has dropped off. Um, yeah, just a wonderful, wonderful beer. It's like an epic novel from top of the glass down to the bottom. I can fully understand why beer geeks and beer experts put this as their number one. Would I put it as my number one? I think as a brewer, I can't even, yeah, it's just incredible how they've achieved this beer. And it's fantastic. It's centuries of learning and understanding. I think this actual beer actually comes from the 1950s, but obviously that's with the knowledge and the historic brewing on that site for since the 1500s. So in terms of brewing, yeah, this is right up there. This is the pinnacle of beer brewing. In terms of like, is this the best beer in the world? For me, that's very subjective. Yeah, this is the best beer in the world, but then also for me personally, I love Tegan Sear, Helles. I love an English cask ale. Um, I love Lab. No. I mean, I just tried a Jaipur and that was fantastic. That marrying the English IPA with the American hops was amazing. I think, as you go through your beer journey, you go through styles and you come back to styles and blah, blah, blah. Your number one can change. But I think for sure, in terms of beers I've tried, this is in the top three. I can fully understand and appreciate and respect why people consider this number one. Others consider Pilsner Urquell as number one. Others are very loyal to Germany. Some people might even say, your Russian River IPA. Yeah, man, I'm very happy I tried this. Bit silly that I've waited so long to try it. But it was worth the wait for sure. I mean, bloody hell! I've almost finished the glass and I'm feeling it a bit at 11.3%. But what a wonderful experience! So if you ever get the chance to drink this beer, yeah, have a go at it, man. Chew on that because it's well worth it. It's a journey from top to bottom. Advice: if you're keeping it in a fridge. It's going to be at about maybe 3 or 4 degrees. That's way too cold for this beer, so just let the bottle sit for about, I don't know, 20 minutes at room temperature, and that'll be close to a good temperature that you should be drinking this at. It's a bit lively on open, but yeah, you'll enjoy it for sure. You'll enjoy it. So yeah, cheers. Probably the best beer in the world. Enjoy.